the Flora Virginia mobile app.
That
the
sounds
history
good.
that led to this app starts back in the 1700s with the Flora Virginica. The last edition was published in 1762. We move forward almost 250 years to 2001 when we established the foundation of the Flora Virginia project. And in 2012,
sounds good to me.
We published the first modern Flora of Virginia, which we will refer to as the manual. All 7 pounds of it and over 1,500 pages. We realized, though, times were changing. As much as we love our books still and use them, to be able to go out in the field with a smartphone in your pocket would be very convenient, and it's the wave of the future. So we did work for the next 5 years and came up with the first version of the Flora Virginia app in 2007, and we continue to update that. Sally?
Yes, so when you turn on the Flora of Virginia app, the first thing you'll see is what's known in the tech world as a splash screen. And that's the page we have on the left. That'll be ephemeral. It'll, in just a few seconds, it will change to the screen that you see on the right-hand side of this slide, which is the screen that has the partners and donors. And I just mainly like to point out the VNPS logo in there as one of the partners on the Flora project, and thank all of you, because VNPS did quite a lot of contributing to the building of the book and the app. And on the next screen, this is the first stable screen, the home screen, that you'll get after those 2 screens pass by. And this one will stay until you till you tap a button and get it to go somewhere else. We've repeated the titles on the right-hand side just so that you could read them a little bit better on this slide. The whole app has various kinds of information nested inside of each one of these keys. So we're gonna tap now and go to the Browse Plants Favorite screen. And on Browse Plants, we've circled it there so you can see which button that is. You'll be able to, there will be a choice of sorting. You can sort your plants by scientific name, common name, genus, or family, and that'll mainly affect how they're alphabetized in the list. And also we'll see the favorites and how to create and share lists. We will do more of that in the live part of the presentation later on. And next, if you tap the browse screen, we've got 2 screens here. The one on the left is the iOS version, or Apple. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you should look like that. We have tapped the sort key, and you see the different sort options there in the center. And then on the right, we have the Android version of the screen. So you can see that each screen has browse and favorites up at the top. Those are the 2 main categories. You also have a back button. It says back on the iOS, and it's just a little button on the other, a little back arrow on the other. You also have a spyglass that you can use on both screens. The one on the iOS has the box for your typing right there on the screen. The other one, you tap the spyglass and you'll be able to type in a search. On the, where Marion is pointing with her cursor and where the red key says sort, it is sort on the iOS, but on the Android, you have a down arrow over to the right, and you can punch that and you'll get these same sort names that you see in the center. What that does is really just alphabetize your list. When you go to search for something, you can type in common name or scientific name or family name and search by those features without changing your sort. That's just your alphabet list for your 3,163 plants that are on the app, which it does show that number on the Android version. So we're going to now Marion's going to type in Spring Beauty as a search, and here we show on the left again the iPad iPhone version, and on the right the Android. And you can see when she typed in Spring Beauty, you get your two types of Spring Beauty that occur in the state. And basically the information in these apps, even though the versions, the appearance may differ a little bit, the same information is in these apps. And a lot of times it will look very similar. So you see the two entries there for the Spring Beauty. And next, Marion's going to tap on Spring Beauty.
Sally,
you'll see what happens there. Yes.
Okay. We would need to go to the spyglass to bring up a screen on the Android to type in Spring Beauty, but then it's the same. Yes. All right. And then on either type of device or app, we would then, if we wanted additional information about Spring Beauty, tap on that bar or button, we're going to call these. And the first screen that comes up on both types of devices is images. And with images, we will see the scientific name, Claytonia virginica, the authority, the botanist who first named Spring Beauty, Linnaeus, common names, whether it's native or introduced, the family name, the scientific family name, the common name, the same for the family, the scientific version of the family name, and then the common name. If we wish to find out more about Claytonia, we could tap on Claytonia as a genus and we'll get a genus profile that comes up. The same for Montiaceae, the family Spring Beauty is now placed in. We can get a family profile. This PowerPoint slide has two separate screens, but on your device, you would scroll down to see images, usually 3 photographs. We're working towards that. And then a botanical drawing. We see 3 photographs of Spring Beauty and the botanical drawing. We next would want to go to description, and there are 3 buttons. If you're iOS, you will have 3 buttons at the bottom of this screen. You scroll down. If you're Android, they will be at the top. So if we tap on the description button, this is what we see. Again, this would be a scroll screen, but we've had to split it up for PowerPoint demonstration. Again, we would see the basic information about our species. We would see the description from the manual. We would have phenology, the blooming periods given, habitat information, the status, how common or rare it is, and in what parts of the state of Virginia. Many of species may have extra comments, and then you're given information about the synonymy, the various scientific names that have been proposed for Spring Beauty. This gets a little complicated. We hope to do some additional future Zoom meetings, and perhaps we could get into some of these details later. Below that is a dichotomous key button, and if you click on that, you could go to the Dichotomous Key for Claytonia. Here are the search characteristics for the graphic key. We'll be coming back to that later. If you click on or tap on the range map button, you will see this screen. Again, the basic information about Claytonia virginica, an explanation of the colors of the dots in counties of Virginia. If the dots are red, those species are native, which we see Spring Beauty is. Blue is introduced, and sometimes there is a question about the nativity or native status, and that will be gray. These county dot maps are from the digital Flora, the digital atlas of the Virginia flora that is developed and published by the Virginia Botanical Associates. And I might mention this, they continually update the maps, and then for the app, we periodically update the range maps. But if you do find specimens of a plant in a county that lacks a dot map, if you visit the digital atlas of the Virginia flora, you are given instructions as to who to contact for producing or establishing a county record. For each of these dots, there's a so-called voucher specimen, which means it's a specimen that's been collected with appropriate information, pressed and identified by a botanical authority as being that species, and then these specimens are kept in a herbarium within the state. There are a number of these, such as George Mason or Virginia Tech. So it's sort of an official record for that county.
Okay, the next button on your home screen, if you go back to your home screen, you will see the graphic key, and we've got that circled here in red. When you tap on graphic key, you'll get the screen that's on the right. You'll have a choice of begin or skip. And if you press begin, you'll be given information on the 11 groups of plants that the flora is divided into for this purpose. And it'll give you a little description of each of those. And there are 5 umbrella groups and then 6 further divisions within that. If you press skip, you'll go straight to a page that has the icons for the graphic key. And if you press always skip, you will never see this page again. You can't undo it unless you reload your app. So we don't recommend pressing always skip. And I believe next we're going to press begin, and Marion's going to go through the different groups with you.
Sally and Marion?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to pause now and have any questions, or?
Yeah, do we have some questions we can answer? I see the first question as where there's a question about purchasing the app from the App Store. You used to could do that on your computer. Now you really have to use your device to go to the App Store and find it. And you have to search for it at the App Store. The other way to do it is to go on the Flora of Virginia website. And there is a button there that you can use to go directly to the Apple App Store or to Google Play to get your copy of the app.
How do we update it, Sally?
As far as I know, to update it, you have to toss it and reload it.
Okay, because I'm noticing
you owning it, and so I think you can just get rid of it and get the new one. And if you see anything wrong with your app, if it's not working right, you can always do that. You need a really good Wi-Fi connection to get it downloaded properly.
I'm able to bring up the chat now, and I'm not sure about not using the cursor. So if that is distracting, what do you think, Sally? We'll just have people
I think
try
that
to.
was just in the case of the beginning. I think as long as you're pointing at something on the screen, it's probably useful to people.
All right. And the other question about voucher specimens, these are specimens that are growing in natural areas, either private or public, and they cannot be based on cultivated species in individual yards. So I think that answers our chat questions so far.
I have something I want to say. This is Donna Murphy. And
Yes.
when we were looking at the range maps and the different colors, the red for the native, and then the blue for the non-native, and then the gray for the undecided, or one point of interest is Pensimon Digitalis, which we, an old favorite native plant. If you look at the range map for it, they're gray dots.
Yes.
Which I thought is kind of funny.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not
brought here from,
certain where it really came from.
Yeah. They were probably, they think they may have been brought in and just escaped cultivation.
Interesting.
Thank you. If we could continue now, I think if everyone has their apps open, if we go to the graphic key button, click on that, and then click on begin, I'm going to quickly show you what you should see. This will be the first screen, again, split into two parts. Pardon?
People need to mute.
All right. And, okay. I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Marion.
Okay. If you click on the graphic key, go to the opening screen, begin. Hopefully you can follow this on your own app. Then you get these 5 umbrella groups, larger groups that come up in a screen. You scroll down, the fern, fern allies, grass-like plants, wildflowers, monocot, wildflowers, dicot, and woody plants. That's a good place to go, or an easy way to break these up. But to get to more specific groups, we would have to click or tap anywhere, either on these photographs or on the text, let's say for fern and fern allies. And this is what you would see. You would see the 2 major groups comprising that umbrella group, the fern and fern allies, with their key characteristics. This is on an iPad or iPhone. Over here for the Android, you have an additional feature of the icon to the right. On an Android, you could click on the icon to go directly to the graphic key for ferns, or you could click anywhere in this button. For the iOS devices, you would click either the pictorial part of the button or the description. Likewise, I'll go through these quickly. The grass-like plants, grasses, sedges, rushes, monocots, the wildflowers are either orchids or other monocots that are not orchids, or graminoids. Graminoids means grasses, sedges, or rushes. It's another name for grass-like plants. The dichots are divided into the asters or composites, Asteraceae, or other dicot wildflowers, meaning non-woody dicots that are not composites. And then finally, we have two groups of woody plants, the broadleaf woody plants and the needleaf woody plants. The broadleaf are the woody dicots, trees, shrubs, woody vines. The needleaf woody plants are the conifers. This is an extra slide not in your app where we are showing you all 11 of these major groups and their icons. Most of these are self-explanatory, but if you can't remember what group the icon refers to, you can tap on the icon, such as the beautiful cartoon of a fern, and you're given the name of the plant group ferns, and then the scientific reference to that, the pteridophytes. Below, we have listed these icons in their order. That's shown here in landscape form at the top. This is shown in portrait form. Again, this is not on your app. Here is the first full graphic screen when you click on skip. If you go back to the graphic key and press skip, this is what you will see. You see the name of the graphic key, select observe characteristics, and you can tap on the button for instructions. The instructions may be of varying lengths on the iOS versus Android. Below the 3,163 is the total number of species or taxa that are covered in the app. Here's a reset button. Here's a way to go back to the graphic key. And then this button show allows you to see the list and photographs of all 3,163 species. We will be coming back later in the program to use the graphic key live, so we'll say more about it at that point.
Okay,
Then,
and now we've gone back again to our home screen, and the third button on the home screen is the Dichotomous Keys. All of the Dichotomous Keys from the manual are also in the app. The master key, and then the major plant group key, which is divided up into a few more groups than what we have in the graphic key. It's identical to the one in the book, which is a little bit more complicated maybe than the graphic key. And then you can also go directly to family or genera keys. And if you know your family or the genus that you're in, you can try those keys. If you haven't keyed before, keying in a genera is kind of a nice, neat way to start because it's usually a little bit simpler and can give you some practice on the keys a little more successfully. And I think that's all we're going to say about Dichotomous Keys, except we pointed out before on the description screen where you can jump to Dichotomous Keys to help you with plant identification if you need to.
and Sally, I think we hope to be able to, in the future, if there's interest, have a Zoom meeting where we actually use the Dichotomous Keys on the app. So
Yes.
that would be a fun thing to do. Today, though, we're going to stick to the graphic key. Our next button is Botanical Help. And if you tap on this button, you will see nested within that, there's information on plant families, the profiles of the plant genera, some rudimentary flower basics. We hope to beef that up in the future. Rudimentary information on leaves. And then finally, the glossary from the manual. You will search these plant families, plant genera glossary on an iOS by using an alphabet that is presented in portrait form over to the right. On Android, there's a scroll button you would use. You could also use the spyglass to find a particular family or genera, or there is a search bar on iOS.
Okay.
Sally?
Yes.
Okay.
On our home screen, the next bar is the reference library, again circled in red. This is really a huge section, and it has many chapters from the original Flora of Virginia manual. The first is the history of botanical exploration in Virginia, the full chapter illustrated with photographs, historic photographs, and the nature of the Virginia flora, which is all the habitat information, also illustrated with color photographs, and 50 hotspots for Virginia botany, something you should look into because it gives you some wonderful places to go and try to learn plants. There's a section that's been added here on using the app to pick natives for your yard. It's a sort of a backwards way to use the graphic key where you put in your location and the features you'd like to have, for instance, shrubs or needle-leaved evergreens, and you can work backwards to pick plants that would be appropriate for your area. We have the introduction to the keys in the next entry. I urge you to look at this because it's got an indexed list and there is some more botanical information in one of those sections within Key to the Families on plant structures. Then the next button is taxa not treated. We had over 800 species that were not included in the flora but were listed as taxa not treated, and you'll find them here. Some of them were discoveries that were made too late to go into the manual. Other ones were considered not fully established. Some of these will be added in some of the upcoming updates. And then finally, we have the list of references. So anywhere that you see a bibliographic entry, for instance, under descriptions or in the chapters mentioned above, then the full bibliographic reference will be found in that section. Now I see everybody.
Okay, great. Our last button on this screen is the About or Contact button. This gives background and acknowledgement on developing both the manual and the app. That certainly would be interesting to look into. The Flora Project Board of Directors, donors, acknowledgements for the manual. Those are areas you might want to look into, but I really encourage you to check out Organization of this Field Manual. This will give you sort of a guided tour through the app. And then the backcountry use is interesting.
Excuse me, Marion.
To remind us. Yes.
Marion, we've lost your screen.
We've lost my screen.
You're not screen
Okay.
sharing anymore.
All right, Mark.
So we missed the last couple of slides.
Okay. Let me try to go back and find. Okay.
Down at the bottom for share screen.
All right. I'm trying to drag that up, Sally. Okay, let me see if I minimize that. If I could go back to the Zoom meeting. Okay. Mark, I think I'm having trouble getting back to that share screen. Let me try to bring that up. Okay.
Marion, if you go to your Zoom window
Yes.
and hover over the bottom of your Zoom window.
Okay. All right. I have a touch screen. Okay.
Can you use your cursor?
I'll use my cursor.
Okay, now we're screen sharing.
All righty. So I will go back to the slides that we lost, so to speak. Did we have Botanical Help?
Yes, I think so.
Were we able to see that?
Yes. And I think we saw the reference library.
Okay.
Contact us.
Botanical Help, reference library. It was about us, correct?
Mhm.
That we did not see. Okay. Is that showing now?
Yes.
Okay. And that is our last button at the bottom of our choices. And I was saying the main areas you'll probably want to check out and read is about the background of how the development to the app occurred, acknowledgments, donors, and so on. For the manual is interesting to look into, but the layout of the guide, this one is very interesting to check out. Backcountry use reminds us that we can use our app when we're not connected to Wi-Fi. The app resides on your phone. And then how to contact the developer of the app, High Country Apps.
Okay.
Sally, would you like to talk about the future here?
I would love to talk about the future.
Right.
And I hope it's better than some of our problems in the present. Well,
oh, yes.
we have a major update that we're working on. We called the campaign Keeping the Science Current when we started this a year or two ago. This is the Flora Virginia board. And we now sometimes refer to it as Flora 2 or Flora 2.0. And we will be adding 275 new plant taxa to the app. And this will be all electronic. At this point, there's not a move afoot to reprint the book. That may happen someday, but right now we're just trying to get a new electronic version with everything updated as best as possible to the current state of our flora. So we'll be adding all those taxa. That means reworking all the keys that lead to those taxa. And we also continually update images, well, not continually, but we do try in batches to update images when we get verified images. And we keep the habitat information that's been updated. So we are on track to have this major update in early 2021. We have done all of our work from the beginning, from the book and the app, and the updates through grants and donations. And because of that, all the app is going to be, once you've paid for it, you will get any update that comes along. So you will get this new update, hopefully sometime next winter, just in time for your spring botanizing.
All right, or certainly by spring or summer, but by the middle of 2021.
Well, it will need to be tested, so we'll see how that
Yes,
goes.
yes, the beta version, yes.
Yes.
And then finally, how to stay informed, how to find out what's new with the Flora Virginia project, please visit early and often thefloravirginia.org. Check out the various menu buttons and keep up to date. And one way to keep up to date, particularly with the app progress, is to click on or tap on the Stay Flora Informed, and this will allow you to subscribe to a digital publication that comes out at various intervals called the Florascope. It's a fun thing, and here is an example of a recent Florascope, and in this one, I am a star. There I am in our RV in Florida, socially distancing as the pandemic was beginning to take hold. And I am working with manuals and my computer to try to help to update the new species that will be added to the app. But this is a fun thing to subscribe to. Sally mentioned the importance of grants and so on, but we really depend on individual donations. And we thank you for your support in the past by your donations and assistance in the development, but we also hope you will continue to donate to the project to help us reach our goal of keeping the science current. That is the end of the slides. And before we go into live projection of the app, I'd like again to thank Mark and Donna for peopling or managing, I should better say, the chat room. We'll open that up again for questions. Mark for helping us organize, and also Linda Wilcox, a friend of Sally and mine, and many of you may know her. She has really helped in editing the PowerPoint. Sally and Mark, do we want to bring up chat now and
Sure.
see if we can answer some more questions? And I will bring up the live version of the app. That will take just a moment.
A couple of people have asked about updates. Depends. There is someone who gave an answer here who apparently gets updates from Play Store on an Android. If you feel like something's not working right or that you may have missed an update, you can always delete your app and reload it. Just make sure you have a good Wi-Fi connection.
Fantastic. Before we start the PowerPoint, I would like to make a confession. This is the first time Sally and I have done a Zoom presentation. So we're sort of newbies. Without Mark, we could not have done this, and we hope it goes well today.
Okay, just a minute.
Today we're going to focus on the Flora Virginia mobile app. The history that led to
Just a minute, I'll try to shut them up because it looks like it's ended.
With the Flora Virginica, the last edition was published in September.
Okay, just a minute, I gotta get back to us. Let's see, where are we? There we are. Okay, I assume that the live portion of that wasn't recorded, or because that was going back to the beginning of the PowerPoint thing again then. But I found that very helpful. I had bought that, I think last year or something. I've been using it several times. I didn't know about that section that they had in the About Us about looking for native plants for your own yard and that. So that would be very interesting.
That's relatively new.
Okay, good, good.
It's a new update. So if you hadn't looked at it for it and didn't know about it, you wouldn't see it.
Okay. They did have that made. Mm-hmm.
One clarification in terms of their discussion of the updates. For the most part, they will automatically update for you so that you don't have to do anything except accept having the update made. The only time you'd need to unload it would be if you had a problem and it got corrupt.
And I think it looks like they did have a major reload the last week of December, and I did accept that. So if you go into the About Us, you could look for details about that major upload then, the major reload in that. Mary, are you still there? Okay, Mary Rhodes, are we still there? Maybe not. Well, maybe Tom knows. Tom, do you know how many voucher specimens Mary Rhodes has brought to you for inclusion from Clayton Lake State Park for not being in one of the that county for this digital app and that? Because I remember she had at least one that she collected for you, and they were gonna put that red dot in for whatever county Clayton Lake State Park is in. Anyways, I'll talk with Mary, and if you don't know, then I'll talk with her, and I'll put it in the newsletter too then about which one or two of the voucher specimens she found. That was at Clayton Lake.
Yeah, I don't happen to know how many there might have been. I know that once we had the specimens, then we could go ahead and add the dot to the map.
This is Mary.
Okay.
Yeah, I've turned my microphone on. Jordan already got the specimen, excuse me, and Johnny Townsend already updated the map in the digital flora. Okay, that was for the Ludwigia leptocarpa.
Oh, okay.
I talked about that. I talked about that in our last program, which I understand from Jackie Brown that it's recorded somewhere on, you know, our program's updated somewhere on the web. I don't know where.
Which month was that?
What?
Do you know which month? Was it a chapter meeting?
Yeah, last month when you had us give presentations and stuff.
Oh, December. Yes, that is on.
That's recorded somewhere. So if you put that address in the newsletter, a lot of us don't really have it written down.
Yeah. Okay.
Where we can look at the past programs that were like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll add that into the newsletter. I've had it in before, but into one of the monthly things. But it's good to do that.
Because part of that program was Jordan talking in a very short presentation about how you do update the digital flora, how it's done.
Right. I remember now. So, okay. Okay, from the December meeting. Okay, and then remind people how to get into our YouTube. Okay. Did anybody else have comments about the Flora Virginia app?
I see there's another app called Virginia Wildflowers. Are these two completely independent enterprises?
Yes, they're two very different programs by different people. Virginia Wildflowers, although it says wildflowers, also includes lichens, ferns, and a bunch of other plants. But it's done by a different group. The equivalent of the graphic key is nowhere near as comprehensive. So it works well if you have something like orange flowers with 6 petals. But if you have something that's got a white flower or a yellow flower, you get maybe 100 or so plants show up in the list, and you have to go through each one individually.
Oh, okay.
So it's there, and it's a guide, and it's free. So it can be very helpful to use. And it's a nice little app, but it's not, doesn't have the capability of discriminating as well as the Flora does.
I want to thank everybody who came that is a non-member that contacted me on our Gmail address from the area or outside the area. Thanks for being here.
Anything else?
One comment in terms of that Virginia Wildflowers app. If you go out of Virginia, you can get an equivalent app for any other state. So if you go to Pennsylvania, you could look up Pennsylvania wildflowers, and you could get an app for that state to look up what they have in terms of their plant populations.
Okay, so it would be like for the beginner in that anyways. Okay.
Well, what funds the Virginia Wildflower app? That seems like a lot of information. Is that just a volunteer project?
I'll look that up and put that into the newsletter too then. Okay, who funds and put into the newsletter. Okay. Okay, if nobody has any other questions, thank you for attending tonight. I'll get the newsletter out within the next couple of weeks.
I have one question.
Okay.
Very large app. It takes up a huge amount of space, and on my phone it wouldn't even fit. So it may force me to finally upgrade my phone, but it is a very large app.
I would make a comment on that. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've just gotten a new phone, and my old phone, it turned out, had 16 gigabytes of storage on it. So I couldn't put a lot of different things on it. And now this is a new iPhone, but the smallest amount of storage that comes on a new iPhone, I think, is 64, and I got 128. So all of these apps like this one that use a lot of, take up a lot of space, you'll be real pleased if you do that upgrade. It's, I mean, I'm not trying to sell phones or anything, but I think it's worth it. But look real closely at what you have to decide how much you want to get the second time, the next time.
Hey, Brenda, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I thought, excuse me, that Sally and Marioan were coming back with more information. Are they?
Not that I'm aware of. This was just that recorded session from last July when.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I figured it would be something worthwhile in that, even though it was pre-recorded.
Yeah, this is Mark. I think some of the apps ask you if you want to download everything onto your phone or not when you have limited storage. And I don't know if the Flora Virginia app is one of those. I know the VT Trees app is, that you have the option when you first install the app, whether to download everything or just the minimum amounts. And then you have to have an internet connection or a cellular connection in order to use the rest of the data. So sometimes those are backup options if you don't have enough storage on your phone. if that allows it. Like I said, I don't remember if the Flora Virginia app does that or not. Maybe if you someone scroll to that background use or whatever, what the options are.
I'm looking at my my phone now. It's an Android. It says that the Flora of Virginia is 341 megabytes.
Is that a lot? Or I'm assuming that's a lot.
Well, the VT Tree ID app is 198. Let me see, Audubon is 555. I just downloaded that.
So it sounds like it's relatively large then. But yeah, if someone can, what Mark asked, check to see if there is that possibility of not downloading everything, as long as you think you're going to have access to the internet all the time.
When I use the converter, it said it's 0.333 gigabyte.
Oh.
Whatever that, I mean, is that a lot?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, okay, this is Lucinda again. I'm gonna go back and